If you are struggling to know if it's intuition or insecurity, if you've been cheated on in the past and you do not want it to happen again, or if you just want to learn to read men better, then this video is going to be for you. See, when I work with clients on building long-term healthy relationship, there's really three things they've got to get right. Core confidence, understanding men, and their relationship skills. And today we're going to be dialing in on understanding men and talking about signs men give before they cheat that allows you to have the core confidence in your intuition to know if you've got to investigate further and get more curious, or if this is just an insecurity playing up and this is something you've got to deal with. So before we get into the content, don't forget I've got my 10 male dating personalities that lead to heartbreak guide. Very important, every woman knows this. The free link to that download is in the description. Sign number one. He starts more fights with you for seemingly no reason. So when a man is getting more irritated with you, when he's finding more fault, when there seems to be just constant conflict without an apparent reason, this is a sign that he's under more stress. One of the common stresses, unfortunately, is he's stressing with the moral dilemma of the other woman he's speaking to and balancing it out with having a relationship with you. The incongruency between the type of man he wants to be and the type of man he's acting as creates more tension within himself, more stress within himself, and so he starts more fights with you. Now, of course, there are other reasons a man can be stressed. Losing his job, financial stress, health stress. So this sign is not a conviction on its own, but it's something you want to watch for in context with the situation and the rest of the signs here. So particularly if there are not other stressors that currently make sense in his life, really get more curious if you're noticing more fights, more irritation without an underlying cause. Sign number two, a sudden and unexpected increase in his personal care routine. So all of a sudden he's showering and shaving before he goes to the gym, when he would never do that before. He's brushing his teeth before work, never used to do that. All of a sudden he's buying new clothes, got a new haircut. Just seems like he wants to impress someone, but it doesn't seem like that someone is you. A sudden change in personal care routine is one of the biggest things you want to watch for if you're worried that a man might be considering cheating or might be in a pre-cheating phase. You'll see a lot of this video is about things that are out of character, and that personal care routine, a big change in that, is one that should definitely have your spidey senses tingling. Number three is indifference and distance. So you start noticing that he doesn't bother to reply much in conversations, doesn't contribute much in arguments, he's just kind of checked out. You make plans and he's fairly ambivalent to them, he's disinterested, doesn't seem very invested in the relationship at all. Overall, it just seems like physically he's around less and less present, and even when he is there, he's creating emotional distance where he's not really contributing. And again, overall, it just feels like he's checked out. There's a lot of vagueness, distance, lack of enthusiasm, one-word responses, lots of this going on. If he's checking out of your relationship, especially without any explanation, without a previous sign, then unfortunately it's a strong sign that he could be starting a new one. Watch for this sign of indifference, ambivalence, and distance in a guy, especially when it comes out of nowhere. Number four, a new girlfriend that he hasn't been keen to introduce you to. So it might start out really innocent at first. You notice a name popping up on his phone. He says, oh yeah, that's my friend from blank. And he's maybe even talking about this friend. Yeah, this doesn't matter, it's just a cool person. But then as time goes on, he gets a little more distant and avoidant with wanting to talk about her. And this is really the key piece, is he's still sandbags, doesn't want you to meet up with her. He kind of downplays her, says you're overthinking, says she's no one, but you know that that person's still in his life. And after the initial spike where she was just a friend, more and more he's distancing you from her. If there's no introduction, big sign there could be something sketchy going on. Number five, his phone is upside down more often than usual. So following on from the previous one, especially if you have seen a name pop up and then you see this sign, number five, a common sign before cheating is that he doesn't want you to ask questions, so that phone stays upside down more than it usually would. Women are particularly good at picking up on this one, so if those spidey senses are tingling, listen to that intuition and get more curious about what could be going on. Number six, he has a completely new lease on life for no apparent reason. You've known him a fair while and all of a sudden he is so keen for work when he never was before and nothing has really changed. He's so keen for gym when he never was before and nothing's really changed. He suddenly goes and gets a whole bunch of new hobbies or exciting things going that you're not really involved in and you're not really sure why any of this is happening. It hasn't been communicated to you. There's just a whole new upbeatness to his energy, an enthusiasm for life, a zest for life that was never there before and doesn't really have a logical explanation as to why it's there now. This again, like sign number 1, has to be taken in context with other signs, but it can definitely be an indication that there's a new energy in his life, and it could very well be another woman. Number 7 is aggressively trying to change you. So things he used to accept about you, he doesn't seem to accept anymore. And he's starting more fights, as per point number 1, about these things. He really wants you to be into this new type of music that he's listening to and gets frustrated when you're not. He really wants you to be into this hobby, or he wants you to have this political opinion or other opinion. He just starts getting frustrated at you for not being a certain way when he never got frustrated at you for being that way before. All of a sudden there's a change in who he wants you to be. And this can be a subtle and very early sign of cheating because he's met someone he's more attracted to, and ultimately it's making him dissatisfied with certain parts of the relationship with you. So he starts trying to change those parts rather than cheat. Of course, that doesn't work, and usually as time goes on, the cheating is what ends up happening. Now, I will say that even if there is no other woman in the picture, if he starts doing this, it can be a sign of underlying dissatisfaction with the relationship, underlying unhappiness with the relationship and what's going on. So even if there is no other woman in the picture, if you do notice this aggressive trying to change you thing, it might be something to address with him. Can you really accept me the way I am? Are you really okay with me? Are you still wanting this relationship to continue? Because even if there's not another woman there now, if he does have those frustrations with you, there could be another woman there in the future. So listen out for this one and don't ignore it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Whether it's a sign of future cheating or just a sign your relationship has problems, it is something you want to be paying attention to. Number 8. Count to 8. He starts wanting to socialize with another group or a new group with increased frequency, and you're not really involved. So this one's kind of obvious, and it goes without saying. There's a particular group that he's really keen to hang out with, to spend more time with. You know it's a mixed group, you know there's women there, but you keep not getting invited. And that's the key. If you're invited, great. Have fun with him. Nothing sus about that. But if he keeps trying to avoid having you there, if there always seems to be a reason or an excuse why it's just this other group and why it's not something you should be involved with, let that be a trigger for your curiosity. It is inconsistent, especially if he's not done something like that before. It's inconsistent with him bonding with you and more consistent with him bonding with someone else. And number 9, overall changes in his character and or his schedule. We've talked about things changing when they don't really make sense that they've changed. His hygiene changing when that didn't really make sense. His social life changing when that didn't really make sense. His attitudes and zest for life changing when that didn't really make sense. Look out for this type of thing. Suddenly his sexual appetite has changed, much higher or much lower, and it doesn't really make sense as to why. Suddenly his communication has changed. He's a much poorer communicator than he used to be, and it doesn't really make sense as to why. He has changed his schedule, and there's these weird scheduling things that don't really make sense to you, and he hasn't really explained why. The biggest sign of pre-cheating overall is subtle changes in schedule, in character, in how he conducts his life that do not make sense to you in the greater context. So listen for these, particularly around his schedule. Listen for all the ones in this video, and let these 9 signs be an indicator that, hey, you can listen to your intuition, you can get curious, and where needed, you can initiate some difficult conversations. Don't forget my guide to understanding the 10 male dating personalities that lead to heartbreak is available completely for free in the description. And I'd love to hear from you. Please, in the comment section, leave your comment. If you've experienced infidelity before, or if you know someone who has, what signs did you notice before it happened? Pop them in the comment section. I would love to hear. Hit the subscribe button with the little bell, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one real soon.